Hey guys, so I have been thinking what build I should do with the new Agnostic Keystone, and in the end I decided to go with the Dark Pack, because Dark Pack sacrifices your life and you need some kind of life sustain, and the Agnostic Keystone drains 20% of your maximum mana per second and heals your life. So I needed a build that has decent effective life pool, a lot of max mana and mana sustain. So this build actually has so much sustain that I actually even heal when I take damage, and I'm gonna show a chart later on showing exactly how all the mechanics works, and it does have pretty cool mechanics. But for now, just take a look at this Chimera fight. During Chimera's smoke cloud phase, I can basically stand still and out heal it. I was also able to face tank Minotaur, and that is quite impressive because this is not a tanky build and it does has its own drawbacks. As you may know, I really like high regen builds, and talking about high regen builds, check this out. Thanks to Raid for sponsoring this video. I got really addicted to this game and I have been playing for a month now. Since you're following my channel, you probably like planning builds, and that's why I think you're gonna love this game as well. It has hundreds of cool champions and builds, awesome graphics, great campaign and storyline, multiple dungeons with big bosses, and it's really cool how you need special builds to defeat those bosses. Also, PvE battles, clan bosses, lots of item sets. Oh, and it's all free to play. Honestly, it can easily compete with PC games. In fact, I just read news that Raid will soon release official PC version. Yay! Now I mentioned I like high regen builds, so let me show you this champion. It is from Lizardman faction and it is a tank, which can buff ally with a shield and give counterattack. So if enemies hit that champion, I hit them back. I gave him 2 sets of items. With both sets, this champion heals 15% of his maximum life per turn, and that makes him very tanky and great addition to my team. Raid Shadow Legends has daily rewards, missions, challenges. Look, there are even dragons. Click the link in the description, download the game, get 50,000 silver, an epic champion, and even join my clan. You can find me in the game under the name Wolfio, and let's go raiding. Now a bit more about cons and pros of this build. Dark Pact right from the start had pretty bad single target damage and clear speed, and it just didn't feel very good. I know Octavian was also doing Dark Pact build and MB Extreme as well, and we all kind of started almost at the same time accidentally, and we all are doing different version of it. But I believe all of us kind of agree that Dark Pact had pretty bad damage at the start and doesn't have very high damage in the end. The playstyle with this build in the end was very sketchy. The clear speed was not amazing, but I can run almost any map mod. 60% reduced recovery rate was very painful, but I could still do it. And the build itself is not really expensive. I only needed 6-link Cloak of Defiance, and I did experiment with different body armors, but in the end I decided to go with the Cloak of Defiance. But you could actually craft a better rare. So in the end, I think the conclusion is that you probably should not be doing this build, but I think you will still find it interesting how I build around the Agnostic. Just a quick warning before I show the chart. It will have some numbers and math. So here it is, and I'm gonna try to quickly explain how everything works and what all these numbers are. So let's say theoretically if I'm taking 1000 damage per second, I do have 20% damage taken gain as life over 4 seconds. I do have 54% damage taken gain as mana over 4 seconds, and I do get that from this mod. On rings, I do also have it on threshold jewels and Watcher's Eye. Combined, I have 54% damage taken gain as mana over 4 seconds. Then also have 10% increased life recovery rate from the belt. And I do have 25% increased mana recovery rate also from the Watcher's Eye. This is just showing the regen that I have from this. So if I would be taking 1000 damage per second, I would be regenerating 240 life over 4 seconds, or 60 life per second, and 168 mana per second. So 60 life per second, 168 mana per second. Now the Agnostic drains 20% of my maximum mana per second and recovers the equal amount of life. Let's say you drain 1 mana and you recover 1 life, which is also increased by life recovery rate. So it drains 632 mana per second, but it recovers more than that because I do have life recovery rate. So it gives me 758 life per second regenerated. It's not actually a regen, it's actually recovered, so it doesn't show in the start window. Now I did not write it here, but I also have 91 life regen per second, and I do have mana. This is actually not all the mana regen that I have, and this is also not affected by recovery rate, so I actually have more than that. So in the end I am regenerating 927 life per second and I'm also regenerating 508 mana per second. That is with all the regen. And that's when taking 1000 damage per second. However, since this is mind over matter and I have 40% mind over matter, so I split that 1000 damage into 600 damage taken from life and 400 damage taken from mana. When I take 1000 damage per second, in the end I'm actually healing for 327 life and 408 mana. So I take damage, but I heal more than I take. Now all those numbers that you saw was just while taking damage and not counting the Dark Pact sacrifice of life. Now let me quickly go over my items. Cloak of Defiance, big mana, mana regen, and additional 10% damage taken from mana before life. More of Conquest, simply because damage taken gain as life over 4 seconds. You could use different helmet. Belt with life recovery rate, gloves with very fat life roll, a bit mana, and global chance to blind on hit. Boots, life, mana, percentage mana, some resistances, movement speed, and onslaught on kill. The boots with percentage mana I believe drops from the temple, and they are not expensive to get. A lot of life and mana regen, resistances which you're gonna need, and then you can craft this 6% damage taken gained as mana over 4 seconds when hit. You can craft this on amulet as well, but keep in mind, if the ring or amulet already has flat mana, you cannot craft this mod. And as for my amulet, I decided to use Blue Petal Amulet, which does have a lot of mana regen implicit. And then I managed to roll Crit Multiplier, Life, and crafted the mana regen. As for the weapon, I am using Cerberus Limb because it does give Spell Leech, as long as my shield has at least 30% block. So my shield does have 30% block, life, mana, some resistances. Energy Shield is completely useless because Agnostic disables it. I do have 2 Threshold Jewels for Rallying Cry, and correct me if I'm wrong, but since they do only have medium radius, you can only place one here and another one here, and I don't think that there is any other spot for it. Which means for Agnostic Keystone, you're gonna have to choose a different spot than Mind Over Matter. And I chose to use that jewel near Chaos Inoculation Keystone. For the flask, I am using the Diamond Flask, the Sulfur Flask for more damage and regen, and Lavianga Spirit. Sometimes if I run out of mana I use it, and that allows me to still cast spells. Now for skills and links, Dark Pact is level 21, quality 23, linked with Intensify, Void Manipulation, Spell Echo, added Chaos damage, and Arcane Surge level 15. I do one higher level Arcane Surge because it does provide me more mana regen. And Intensify, it increases your AoE, and if you stand still and keep recasting it, it shrinks your AoE but gives you more damage. But that also for some reason felt like I'm sometimes not dealing damage. I think the AoE becomes too small and I need to get closer to targets to continue hitting. For auras, I have Zealotry and Clarity linked with Enlighten. Also have some Enlighten Golem, but it's kind of useless. Also have Spell Totem linked with Wither and Multi-Totems. I also do have Wild Righteous Fire linked with increased duration. Higher level cast when damage taken linked with Despair Curse, increased duration and Immortal Call. Then I do have 2 War Cries, Rallying Cry and Abyssal Cry linked with increased duration and increased area of effect. Rallying Cry has massive AoE, and you only need to reach at least one enemy to get the buff, and to trigger Threshold Jewels to give you more mana sustain. And the Rallying Cry buff effect lasts around 15 seconds in my case, so I can still juggle between 2 War Cries. Abyssal Cry I didn't really use that often. I tried using it couple times for extra pops, but it didn't really help with the grease speed that much. It did help against porcupines. And lastly, passive skill tree. I chose to go with the Scion because it was more flexible, and I did first go with the Juggernaut because I need the stun immunity, and it does give the build a bit more tankiness by generating endurance charges. And then I picked Assassin because I wanted more crit, and it does generate power charges. Initially I was planning to go with the Hierophant for more max mana and damage taken from mana before life, and Trickster for more mana regen, but I really needed that stun immunity and a bit more tankiness, and I really needed that damage, so Assassin. Oh, and I also connected to the Shadow starting area, which only saves me 3 points. And on the passive skill tree, I got a bit of life, mana, mana regen, crit, cast speed. I am also using Pure Talent unique jewel, so I did connect to the Witch starting area and the Shadow starting area, like I said, which does provide me an extra 0.5 base crit chance and 0.5% of maximum mana regen per second. And that is pretty much all. Also, I noticed that Dark Pact doesn't really scale very well with maximum life. It is much much easier to scale its damage by using spell damage, crit, chaos damage, gas speed. And remember, the more life you have, the more life you're gonna sacrifice with the Dark Pact, and the more life you're gonna have to regen. Which also means it's much easier to use like a low life build, because you cannot really kill yourself with the Dark Pact. So you would just run out of life and would not get the bonus damage, but you would not need to worry about sustaining your life. And that's all. The new league is coming very soon, and information about it is gonna be released on August 20th. So probably gonna slow down my videos until the next league or before the next league. And for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.